Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off, online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, college goaltender turned professional goaltender Josh Boyko is joining us. He's first season in the professional ranks this year. He played with the SPHL's Peoria Rivermen this year, and he's currently with the Reading Royals in the East Coast Hockey League, as well as spending time with the Maine Mariners and the Kalamazoo Wings this year. I almost forgot about that, but just remembered it. But it's gonna be a good episode. So it's been 2 years since we've last had you on. So you're making your round two of the interview. So welcome to the show, Josh Boyko.
Thanks for having me back. Definitely been following along and just happy to be back here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to have you back on as well. But like to start things off, like how have you been? Like it's been a crazy first year pro for you. So how's everything going with that?
It's been good. It's been a lot of fun. You make the most of every situation, opportunity you're put into, and no, it's definitely been one that I've cherished so far. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad that you're just rolling with the punches and just like you're like we talk probably constantly like every week, and like you're enjoying the ride no matter where you are, and like it's good to see that because if you're not having fun, then why are you playing?
Oh, 100%. You're completely right. If you're not enjoying it, then there's no point in doing it. So yeah, definitely having fun with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that, but I want to get into like 2 years ago you were a junior when I had you last on the podcast, and you spent 5 years at Aurora University. So like, what were those last 2 years like? I know you were standout, especially those last 2 years. Like, what were those 2 years like, and just being able to grow your game and get into the professional ranks eventually?
So following the last time I was on here was during COVID. It was like the
Yeah.
very beginning of COVID. I hopped on with you, and then that next year was COVID driven. And at the so like we didn't have a first half of the season, but thankfully for me, in a sense, I got hurt just before the season started. So I went back home for the first half of the semester, thankfully, because school was online. So I go home, get some treatment, kind of get my injury all back to 100%. And so I was able to kick it off with the guys come January when they gave us our 8 game schedule, followed by like a small playoff, but there was going to be no nationals, unfortunately. As much as we all wanted for there to be one, it just wasn't going to be able to work just because every league had its
Yeah.
different protocols in place because of COVID, which is fair. Um, so that year was definitely interesting. But then the final year had pretty much the exact same team for the most part. I had LA come back with me for my 5th year, and then on to top it all off, my brother came in for that year. So that was a lot of fun to have him around for the one season transferring from Vermont, and then have the same guys that I kind of started the program off with to end it all off. So no, it was a lot of fun. Set a lot of records that year, like as a team. Personally, I had a couple more too. So it was a lot of fun, and was really looking forward at the same time too to move onto the pro ranks and kind of get it going. But made made incredible friendships at Aurora, a lot that I still have to this day, and seeing where they're at now. I mean, they're ranked seventh, and the best they've been ranked this year is five. And I mean, for us, like we got to seven for a week my final year, but for them to move up to five and to finally sweep Norbert. We never beat them when I was there. We never beat Adrian. Aurora goes against Adrian this weekend, so fingers crossed for them that they can finally slay that dragon as well and beat them and hopefully get a little more going there. But no, it was a lot of fun and a lot of, like I said, a lot of great friendships made during that time.
Yeah, and like as much as you want to go on to the professional range, just that like extra year probably helps you develop your game even more because goaltenders usually don't develop till later, like 25, 26. So you're right around that now, and you're just able to just go in, build those friendships, build the program even more, and just build that development period to like when you do go into that pro ranks that you're ready for whatever is coming at you.
Oh no, you're 100% right. I mean, to following COVID, a lot of guys didn't go back for a fifth year. So spots were even more limited because teams weren't even playing too during that COVID time. So spots would have been even less of an opportunity than they already were. So for me to be able to go back, get my master's on top of that was just like a huge blessing. So everything has its own way of working out, and thankfully that was its way of working things out for me.
Yeah. So like what do you learn in situations like this where you go that fifth year with like the pandemic and everything happening with the shortened schedule? Like there's a lot to learn, especially as an athlete and as a student as well. So like what do you learn throughout like times like that?
Definitely learn how to manage your health, especially with COVID and stuff like that,
Yeah.
what you're doing, and as well as how you want to approach every game, especially with a condensed schedule during that 8 games. Like it was a lot quicker. Especially too since I took the 4 months off in a sense because I couldn't skate. I didn't really have a whole lot of training going into that season. Like the last 2 weeks before heading back down to school, I was skating maybe once or twice a week if I was lucky. So my cardio wasn't at its highest point. Like as much as we do, as much as we be on the treadmill or biking or running, the training on ice is just a completely different animal, and it's just you can't duplicate it no matter how hard you try. So once actually getting back out there and going back through everything, I think after my first game, I was like, all right, like we got some work to do still, but felt pretty good. And I mean, I think we played Trine that year, and I think we beat them both 2 games, but during COVID. But yeah, it was just like getting my feet, getting my cardio back, but it was so nice to play and so nice to get myself back into it.
Yeah, and like if I feel like with that condensed schedule, like every game matters, even though there wasn't like nationals or anything, but like you want to win those 8, 10 games, whatever it was. So like every game is a grind, and like everyone's pushing to their absolute max to get that win at the end of the day.
Oh, 100%. And like you said, like everyone wants to win, but at the same time, too, you can't put more pressure on yourself just because
Yeah.
you're playing games. And I mean, like, I think that's one thing too that I've started to mature as is like, I mean, like I'm 25 now, but like from my very first week there at AU versus my last year at AU, it's just like just enjoying every game and not thinking that, oh, because we're playing Adrian, who's number one in the country, I need to do more than if we're playing a team that's not ranked and is just kind of starting off the year. You got to treat everybody the same and not put any more pressure on yourself or put any more pressure on anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like the game is the game, and you just like you're gonna just have to go out there and just like you play your best games when you don't think or put that pressure on you. Because like once you start like overthinking everything, that's where like maybe you commit a wrong way, like overslide, just
Yeah.
like maybe you're overconfident, and then like you miss like you're not on angle. So like just not thinking or like obviously knowing where the play is and everything, but like not like overthinking anything is a good thing.
No, 100%. I mean, my family and I have like a running joke that I knock on wood that I play a little better when I'm sick, just because I'm not thinking about anything else going on during the game. I'm thinking like, all right, like conserve, like this is where you're at. And so the whole game is just like fun. And I typically play better just because there's no mind on hockey. Like, I mean, obviously you're focused and dialing on the puck, but your mind isn't consumed by just that. It's got other little things that are bring you back to reality versus like overthinking, like, oh, we scored. Okay, now we got a 1 goal lead. Now I need to keep it. It's
Yeah,
like, all right, just stay even keel, stay flat. Like, don't worry.
just play your game.
Exactly.
Yeah, but looking back at Aurora University, like from like when you went in your freshman year to your fifth year, like what was that progress and like that you seen like over the development process over those 5 years to help the program build and like you said like they're ranked number 5 in the country at one time. So like we're just seeing like all that from freshman year into fifth year and even now.
I mean, it was quite the journey going from 5 wins my freshman year, going 5-20, I think it was, or 5-18-2, or whatever it was, to going like 16 like 10-2 or something, just like a drastic difference. I mean, like we'll hear from Dempsey or from Bloomy, just like reaching out being like, thank you for help building our program, but I mean at the same time too, a ton of credit goes to those two on bringing in the right guys. And I mean this year they're 14-1-2, or 14-3-1, or something along those lines. So obviously, like, we're not there anymore. I mean, but they've been bringing in the right guys every year to help make sure um, that bar that they've set continues to either be risen or stay at that at least at that point. So a lot of credit goes to those two as well as everybody else that was on the journey. I mean, when I got there, it was Lidge, and then after that, it was uh, one of Bloomy's former players, Greenwood, and then Liam was there for a bit. He ended up helping out, and then Jack Wood's there now. So all those guys that help bring other guys in, bring something new to the program, all have a major fact in the fact that right now they're ranked 7th in the country.
Yeah, it's all a team game. When you have like all those bits and pieces coming together throughout the years, you're eventually gonna get a very strong program. And like Aurora has right now, like they have a strong program that's just gonna keep building, especially with the pieces they do have.
Oh, 100%. So I'm excited to see. I think that this year, especially, they have a really, really good opportunity to win there to win the NCHA and hopefully get a bid, or if not, if they win it all, then they're just going right to national. So I mean, if they're not winning it all, hopefully they get that bid so they can go in.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go on to your professional career here a little bit, but like you were emergency backup last year for a game or two with Vermilion, I believe, right?
Yeah, for Vermilion.
Yeah, so like what was the process there to get that e-bug offer and just like what was that experience like?
At the time I was in Florida with, at the time, my girlfriend and her family for spring break, and it was a great time with them when Nick Neidhart from Vermilion, he's now the head coach at Macon,
Yeah.
gave me a call and was just like, hey, like, heard a lot of really good things about you, seen you play. Like, would love to bring you in. Like, we need a goalie right now. Just to, like, if you want to come down, we'd be happy to have you. And I'd been looking for an opportunity just to kind of see what it was all about. Like, pro hockey is a completely different animal between travel, like players, everything is just so different. So I wanted to see what that was like. And having LA already in Peoria and doing as well as as he was, I mean, we were there for his first game and he scored 2 goals. And I wanted to get my own taste from it. My roommate Dylan Rao was at Vermilion too, which was nice, as well as former teammates had already been there. So I was like, yeah, no, I'll definitely come down. So I got back from Florida that next morning. Um, got like a quick nap, hopped in my car the next day, and drove up to Vermilion and spent the week there, where we played Evansville and we played Peoria. Go figure, we play LA, and me and him had a little bit of fun banter on the bench and on the ice. But Yeah, no, it was fun. It was something that uh brought me to pro hockey. And I mean, I'd always thought about playing pro hockey, but that was like my first taste of it, and I'm glad I got to see what it was like.
Yeah, it's like what was it like that first time stepping on the ice for like pregame warm-ups, like in your first like pro, like in your first like taste of pro and just being able to, even though you're backing up, but you're still like getting that you're stepping onto professional ice.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was definitely like a dream come true. I mean, always wanted to be able to say I'm a professional athlete. And so to actually have that moment, even though it was considered an emergency backup,
Yeah.
I'll take every bit of piece of that. And we played in Evansville, and they have an unbelievable facility. I mean, it's top notch. I mean, it's an old AHL facility, but it is very, very nice. It might be the best rink in the SPHL, just from like a strictly standpoint of like building wise.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not doesn't. Last time I was there, well, I mean, I was on Vermilion, so that probably had a reason to. They were just at the bottom of the league at the time. Um, Fan wise, it wasn't busy that night. It was also a Wednesday, so can't judge them
Oh, the
whatsoever
weekday games, yeah.
yeah, on a Wednesday night game. It's tough pull for facilities. So I would love to see that place like on a Saturday night between two top teams and just
Yeah.
see what that crowd is like, because I'm sure it's probably pretty electric, especially in that building. Um, but yeah, no, like you said, it wasn't what how like in a sense how I wanted, but being there and being consider myself a professional athlete was super cool.
Yeah, so like what do you learn from like your for getting firsthand experience? So what do you learn about the SPHL and like if you want to play at that level, like what you need to do to get to that level?
Um, I mean, it was fun because I was able to talk to LA and talk to some other guys already there and had goalies like and ask like what their goalies are like, how like I might compare to them. I mean, you always take everything with a grain of salt just because of the fact that you're not actually out on the ice with them and you're not seeing the puck. So it's easy for
Yeah.
someone to say, "Hey, we think you'd be just as good. We think you're way better than this guy." Or like, "Hey, this guy might be a little bit better than you." But until you're actually on the ice with them and experiencing what they're experiencing, it's hard to always judge. And I mean, it was definitely a humbling thing too. Because I mean, we all do it. Like you watch a professional athlete and you're like, how the heck did that go in? Or like, how did he miss that shot? And it's like, okay, now that I'm in in those shoes, it's like, well, how did I let that up? Or
Yeah.
I can see why that goes in, or how that guy missed that shot. Like having the amount of like having a little bit more pressure and having people all over you. I mean, yes, like you're paid to do this, but everyone makes mistakes and stuff happens. And as much as you want to control that, it happens. So you find a way to fight through it, and you gain a lot more respect for players that are in the league and what they've been through and what they've seen.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there, and like especially like what I've been experiencing these past couple months. Same thing, like you're at the like it's a lot faster on the ice than it looks like when you're in the
Yeah,
stands. So like
100%.
everything moves quicker. There's tons more bodies in front of the way, and like a lot of guys are bigger too. So like you're just
Yeah.
fighting through traffic, trying to fight through the sight line. So it like with that with all that pressure and like everything as well, like there's a lot going on. So like you do gain a lot more respect for everyone in that perspective.
Oh yeah. No, you're 100% correct.
Yeah. So then you get that experience in Vermilion, and then you go into the summer where you train. I believe you train at home, and then you train with Tony here in Illinois.
Yeah.
So like what was this past summer like, and just being able to like do everything you can to like get a name for yourself and be a like a full-time guy in the SP, the coast, wherever it may be.
So I was lucky. Uh, he reached out to me in Peoria in probably June or July, I think it was, and offered me an opportunity with the Rivermen. And so I jumped on that immediately, just talking with LA and talking with family and the opportunity there being such a well-known program and always pushing guys on to the next level. I was like, yeah, you know what, like 100% I'll sign there. So sign there. So the entire summer I was focused on being in my best shape, both physically and on the ice, for going to Peoria. So like in the summer, it was a different training summer for me, just because I knew like college was a 25 game season before
Yeah.
playoffs. and that was like max. Like you're not playing 29 or 30 games. Peoria, you're playing 59 games. So I'm like, okay, like, and I don't start until the first week of October. So there's no point for me to be training balls to the wall in June when I have 4 months until that point. So uh I kind of started to skate middle of July, like once or twice a week with Tony. Great guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Awesome
Beauty.
dude. Yeah, I mean, we trained together too
Yeah.
in September, I think it was, and I think
Yeah.
once
Like
you
right
did.
before you left.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that was fun too. But yeah, so like I wasn't doing anything too crazy in terms of leading up to July, but at like beginning of August and going home and in September I was skating 2 to 3 times a week, getting my touches. And I mean, I said to my parents, and I said during a talk I had with our broadcaster in Maine, just how lucky I was for the guys that I was able to train with in the summer who were consistent, like good point getters in the East Coast, and some of the AHL like had minutes or like our full time there this year. Just like in 3-on-3, and like we're not playing on a full ice, like we're playing on a mini rink that's built for this. And so having those guys out there, and like how fast the puck's moving, and like your angles, and everything's off, everything's different.
Yeah.
But you have to compete. I mean, it's not like it's just me and then some random guy. Like you got Murdaka, or I know Stefano Durante was out there on the other end, or um, we'd have Latinovich, or like guys that have really good pedigrees. I mean, Murdaka's played in the East Coast, even has I'm pretty sure he has a 2 or 3 games in the AHL.
Yeah.
Latinovich is a full timer right now with Huntsville, and he's doing really well, but also played Division 1 and won an OGHL championship. Durante won an RBC Cup and played at AIC and was a starter there. So I mean, you're competing with guys that are legit and are very good. Um, so pushing myself to be against them and to be consistent was huge for myself. And then at the beginning of September, my agent called me and was just like, "Hey, Maine's gonna call you. We're gonna try and get you there for a tryout." And sure enough, 2 minutes after I got off or the minute he texted me and said like they're gonna call you, within 15 seconds, Hull Wally from Maine called me and just said, "Hey, we want to bring you into camp. Not sure if you'll make it out, but we really want to give you the opportunity. And I know what D3 is like, and we want to give you a chance." So that was super nice to get that opportunity,
Yeah.
and that brings the whole journey to Maine. So I kind of postponed the start of the season with Peoria, and I went down to Maine, and that was super humbling, as well as like just like a dream come true. Something that I talked about with Brian Dempsey at Aurora was the +1 effect. And if you sign in the East Coast, there's a +1 you might be able to get to the A at one point, or get a couple games in the A. If you're an AHL guy, you get +1 to the NHL, or that +1 effect. But I mean, you try to get as high as you can, so like when people look at your elite prospects or look wherever your journey started, it's at a very well-known point. So being able to go to Maine, my whole goal was just show best, show well. If you don't make it, that's completely understandable, but just give yourself the opportunity to be there. And so went in with that attitude, and got to play with Bussy and Brassard out there, which two very, very good goalies. I know we talked during my time in Maine, like during that camp, and how good those two guys are and how different their games are. Like Bussy's very active, but he's a big body. I mean, I think he's 6'4", maybe 6'5" on like a good day.
Yeah.
And then Brassy's no shrimp either. He's 6'2",
And he can score goals.
and he's got 3 goals, three maybe, yeah, three.
Yeah, I think
He's
3.
got, yeah. So I mean, but Brassy's game is very, very calm. And I mean, you watch him and you're like, dude, like how are you like this relaxed? But he's so good at it. And so getting to do that was pretty cool, and was lucky enough to make it out of camp and get an exhibition game in against Worcester, which I had a couple buddies on that team, so kind of funny to play against them in my exhibition debut. And It was fun. Went down 3-0. I came in halfway through, and we were able to come back and win 4-3 in overtime. So that was a really
Nice.
nice feeling. But at the same time, too, I realized how I had to change my game. The very first drill we did, I'll never forget this. Very first drill of training camp in Maine was forward and D splits to start up, just to kind of get touches for the forwards. And the forwards had to curl around their line and come in on a 2-on-0. And you had to make one pass and it had to be a one timer.
Yeah.
And I remember challenging my first 3 reps, and they beat me clean as day going cross ice. And I went, I cannot challenge like I did in college
Yeah.
because this is what happens, and this will not, and I will be out of here so quickly. So kind of tailored it back a little bit. I mean, I talked with you, talked with Tony, and talked with my goalie coach Corey back home about playing at the top of my crease or maybe a touch above, but not getting out there like a foot
Yeah.
or maybe a foot and a half outside the crease like I typically would in college, just because that east west is just so quick and guys are just so good now, and it's so they burnt me pretty quickly. But as I kind of changed things around, got better at that, and that was good. It was really good for me making that team.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to make that those little like you just got to adapt that little bit like you said like you're getting beat clean on those 2-on-0 one-timers and then you just set your depth a little different and then you're able to stay with them. Like that's some one thing that I've learned this season so far is just the depth because one day the depth you've been using might work, the next day it might not. So you just got to keep playing with it and just it's a never ending like revolution of just trying to find that depth that works for that day.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you try and keep it consistent so that you're not all over the place,
Yeah.
but no, you're right. Like you're filling with things, and that's what's great about practice too, right? Like nothing it doesn't hurt you if it goes in, but at the same time too, you want to find that good and happy medium of being too far but not being too shallow.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you made main made the Maine Mariners out of camp and you got to play in 4 regular season games where you went 1-1-1. So like what were those like regular season games like because it's obviously a step up from like exhibition games.
Yeah, no, so that was totally different. I mean, the first period I play actually, sure enough, I played Reading my very, very first pro game, and then come full circle, I'm here now. Um, but my first game in Maine, it was so hot on the ice. I've never experienced heat like that playing, and my gloves were soaked. I was way more sweaty than I've been in
Yeah.
previous games. I felt like I played 2 periods going through warm up, and I was like, all right, like this is
What
different.
do I gotta do now?
Yeah, exactly, right. So it's crazy. So for my very first game, we started off went up 2-0 after the first, and I felt really good. Like I felt confident, felt like I was seeing the puck really well. And even the first 10 minutes of the second, like I felt really good again. Like I stopped at like a semi breakaway, made a good little cross crease save. I felt really, really in control and felt good. And then all of a sudden things just didn't go the way that I would have wanted. I mean, first goal was a backdoor or like kind of a semi 2-on-1 play. So what didn't beat myself up about that one. Then second one's a one timer on a 4-on-2, but it beats me 5-hole, which doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And then third goal is a shot that hits my defenseman's shin pad and changes direction on me, and I'm moving one way and it goes the other, and you're just like the snowball effect starting to go, and you're trying your best to just like stop this from rolling out of control. And um I had a good following that game. I had a really good conversation with my goalie coach and my head coach. They both just said like, hey, we still got a lot of confidence in you. It's your very first pro game. Like you're learning as you're going through this, so don't be too hard on yourself. Like let things kind of play out. And that was huge. We go to Newfoundland the following weekend for a 3-4. We get there Tuesday. Play
Grind.
Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So I'm going to Newfoundland. We know how good they are. They're one of the best teams on home ice. The only time they've been shut out on home ice was during a playoff game. I want to say it was done by Cam Johnson. But Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was, and it was during the finals, um, or semifinals or whatever it was. And obviously he's a stud goalie. I mean,
He's a beauty. I could definitely
yeah.
see him doing that.
So um we go to Newfoundland. First game I don't start, but I come in for the third. Um my goalie partner at the time is Peter Tome because both Brassard and Bussy are up in the AHL because not only is Swayman hurt, but Kaiser's hurt. So you're watching the domino effect
Yeah.
in full form right now. Just okay, this guy's hurt, so this guy goes up, this guy's hurt, this guy goes up. And now all of a sudden you go from being the third goalie and practice goalie all the time to now being almost regarded as a starter for a sense.
Yeah.
And a bunch of my buddies kind of joked with me at the time, like, "Hey, congratulations, you're the starter of the Maine Mariners now. How does that feel?" And I was like, obviously, you laugh at it, and yeah, have some fun with it. But
Yeah.
play the third of the Saturday or the Wednesday night game. Give up one, but excited to get back after on Friday. Coach gives me the nod for Friday night. And honestly, like everything that I kind of experienced in that very first game in Reading and then against Reading and then everything that we talked about, I felt like I did in that first night against Newfoundland. We lost 5-4 in overtime. And yeah, like 5 goals doesn't sound great. But there were so many positives out of that game. And I felt really good. Um, and although we lost in overtime, very controversial goal, by the way. Like sure enough, like goal doesn't or they score on an alleged throw in the net from the glove. And so they go to review it and the iPad happens to be dead. So they have to call it. So controversial to winner. But nonetheless, like we forget about it, move on to Saturday night. Um, get to the rink early in the morning for morning skate or whatever you need to do. So playing again, I was like, I'm not gonna skate this morning. I'm just gonna get in the ice bath, stretch, roll out, do what I need to do. And coach came out to me and said, "Hey, like thought you played really well last night. We're gonna go again with you," which was a really nice vote of confidence. And so sure enough, we go against Newfoundland again and we score like a minute 30 into the game. Which was super nice. Like go up right away again. And we played really good defense for 3 periods. And yeah, like you're called upon to make a save or two here and there, but for the most part, the guys made my job very, very simple. And we were able to beat them 2-0. We scored an empty netter with like 8 seconds left or 3 seconds or whatever it was. Um, but to be the first goalie to shut them out in regular season at home was like was super nice and just a big feather in my cap. But to get my win was even bigger. Just to get that monkey off the back and to know like, hey, like you're legit, like you can compete at this level. It's not out of arm's reach anymore. Like you know what to do. And so yeah, like that was an awesome trip. And we go back to Newfoundland in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to headed back to Newfoundland for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Like you not only get a win off the back, but you also get your first professional shutout out of the way. So like how special is it to have both of them be in the exact same game and like you don't have to worry about getting like your first shutout or your first win. Like they both came on the same day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that you try not to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can make it happen in one game, it's awesome. But at the same time, too, like it's just another game, and you just want to get the win so badly at any cost. And so getting that win was huge. And the even better part too was like my parents told like told all my family like, hey, he's playing tonight, and I had a lot of family tune in for that game too. So it was kind of just like a hidden written in the stars. Like my family does this behind my back, doesn't tell me anything. Then after the game, I have my uncle, my aunt, my cousins, like everybody texting me saying congratulations. And obviously you call the parents and they're stoked for you as well as call my brother. And so tell your coaches and all that, which was super, super nice. So that was just like a very, very nice feeling.
Yeah, and like your phone's blowing up and that's like another night where you're not getting any sleep because all the messages that are coming.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah, but then you like you get released from Maine like probably a couple games later, and you go down to the SP with the Peoria Rivermen. It's like, what was it that transition like going from the coast to the SPHL?
It was good. I mean, obviously I had a lot of really good conversations with Guy going into the season. So no, I was headed down to Peoria and I was obviously with everything going on, I was like, obviously, love being in Maine. I have nothing but respect for everybody there, and I still have good friends in Maine that I made while I was there and stay in contact with them. But was super excited to get down to Peoria and get going. So I went down there on a talked to Guy. He's like, when can you be here? I was like, I can be there Wednesday night. He's like, perfect. If you want, just be here for Thursday practice. I was like, okay. He's like, be ready to go. You're gonna play Saturday. I was like, okay, easy enough.
Quick
Like,
turnaround. Let's
quick
go.
turnaround, which was super nice. Like, didn't have to wait around or like kind of see where things are at. He's just like, you're going, just do what you got to do to be ready. So it was nice to have that kind of that vote of confidence and walked in. We went to Quad City. Uh, Eric got a shutout on the first night. I think we won 5-0 at home against them. And then we go to Quad and we win 3-2. And I think I was 32 for 34, something like that. And it was just a really nice feeling like, okay, like we're right back on track. We're ready to go. Let's get after it. So it was just good to continue to play. And so had that game. They have a really nice setup in Peoria too. Like the fans are terrific there, and they greatly support the Rivermen. They got nothing but love for those guys. So it was really nice to have support from the fans as well. Um, so played that game, win that one. Then we go Vermilion at home on the Friday for Pink in the Rink night. We win that game 5-3. Wasn't my greatest outing, but I was good enough to get the win. And some nights it's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
You find a way. Things aren't always going to go the way you want it to, but as long as you continue to battle and give yourself a chance, and that then no one can blame you for anything other than that. So picked up the win. Go to Vermilion the next night. Eric plays, gets the win again. So we're kind of going on a roll. They had just lost the Wednesday night to Evansville in overtime. So we picked up 2 wins that night, or that we get against Quad. Then we play against Vermilion, pick up 2 wins again there. Then we go Huntsville at home for Friday, Saturday. And I know both goalies there, and I have a bunch of buddies on Huntsville, so it's kind of fun. And I know Litinovich really well. They grew up against each other. I know Vorva really well. He's now in KZoo.
Yeah.
Um, just from playing against him at Marion. And then I have a bunch of buddies like Hunter, Procopio, Kyle Clark, all on that team, as well as Rue was there. He ended up getting traded to Peoria. He's now in Macon. But play them Friday night. Eric plays. We win. I think 9 or 10-2.
Oh,
Just like crazy game.
yeah.
So going into Saturday, I get the start, and I just know like it's not going to be anything like it was yesterday. Like
No.
it's not going to be a 10-2 game. It's probably going to be a much closer game. They go up 1-0 in the first, and then we go up 2-1 after the second. And then in the third, we go up 3-1. They score to make it three, or no, then we go up 4-1. We score an early power play goal as well as another goal to make it 4-1. And then with like 6 minutes left, we're a dominating play. Their guy shoots it from the point. My guy tries to get a stick on it to deflect it out of the way, but ends up tipping it top corner on me, makes it 4-2. So now they kind of got some life again. They pulled the goalie. They score a 6-on-4. I want to say it is. I want to say it was cross ice. Guy walked down from the blue line, thinking he's going to shoot it. Has it wound up, and then feeds it directly across the railroad for a backdoor. And guy makes it 4-3. We get an empty netter, win 5-3. Felt numbers are always deceiving, and that's another thing that I've learned is you can't look at numbers anymore when it comes
Mhm.
to goaltending. And I knew that in college, but even more at the pro level. Like we won 5-3. I stopped us. I made a poke check on a breakaway. I made a couple good saves. Like was really calm, and my total shots was 14. So I'm 11 for 14. So you look at that and you're like,
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy struggled. Like that was bad. But I'm like, I didn't play bad, and me and my dad laughed. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like I faced 14 shots. I was 11 for or 10 for 11 going to the third or whatever. And you're like, okay, like I'm doing well, and you got 5 minutes left in the third, and you're 10 for 11. Like,
Yeah.
all right, they faced three shots and they scored two of them, and one of them's by your own guy. So you're just like, that's not at all how the game went,
Mm-mm.
but that's what it is. And so you learn that like you got to get rid of it. Like you can't
Yeah.
have that mentality. You can't look at the score clock and be like, hey, they missed a shot, or why are my shots higher? I need to face more shots because I've given up two already. Like you can't do any of that math or anything like that. Um, so that was interesting, but play that game and win that night. And then Sunday we have off. And then Monday, coach calls me in and says, hey, like, I think you're a terrific goalie. Like, I see a lot of potential in you, but we're going to go with a veteran presence between Levy and Churchfield, which, I completely understand. I appreciate Guy being as honest and frank as he was with me. And, I mean, I got to know Eric in the summer. And so, I mean, I still cheer for the Rivermen. Still hope they do well. I
Yeah.
got nothing but respect for them. It was good for me though. Kind of went home for a little, or went back to Chicago, just because Peoria is only 2 hours from there. So my brother was still at school, so went down, saw him over between that time period, skated once, and then sure enough, I wake up one morning to a call from Kalamazoo saying they need a goalie for the weekend. And he's like, I can't promise you anything. I don't know where it's going to lead. I don't know how long our guy's going to be up in the A, but we need a goalie and we'd like to bring you in. And I was like, all right, perfect. So packed all my stuff right back up and headed to Michigan to play for the Wings. And it was great because Vorva was already there. So I got to actually play with Vorva now, and I already know him. So he was super welcoming and was really good in introducing me to everybody and making me feel really comfortable, as well as the guys are super nice there, like very inviting. No one doesn't like, even if you're on an AHL contract, like you're no bigger than anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, so I was there for 2 games, backed up both of them, or backed up one of them because Cormier ended up coming back down for the Saturday game from Manitoba. So we won the first night in overtime against Cincinnati, 4-3 in a crazy comeback. We were down 3-0 going into the third.
Wow.
We stormed back and come back and win that. And it was a great crowd that night too. So it was sick.
Buzzing.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely buzzing. They got the flag out on the ice for the overtime winner and guys skating around with it, which is pretty funny. And then Saturday we head up to Fort Wayne, literally just before Christmas break. It's the 22nd. Um, so we head up there, and unfortunately, that game did not go the way we wanted it to, and we lost 7-2. Then head home, and that took us to Christmas break, and that's where Reading kind of came into the picture. It was the 28th. I get a call from Kalamazoo coach, super nice guy. Again, like nothing but respect for that team and the
Yeah.
guys there. And he called me and just said, "Hey, like we got an offer from Reading for you. Just thank you for what you did for us here. Like I know it was quick, but we really appreciate it, and we wish you nothing but the best." And so that brought me here, and I've been here since, and I've loved every second of it.
Yeah, and like that's crazy about the stuff that you learned about. Like you can't really look at like the save percentage and all that, especially like when you did face that adversity with like 11 for 14. Like, yeah, that doesn't look great, but like you got the win. Like at this
Yeah,
level, like your job is just find a way to help the team win.
find a way to win.
Yeah, find a
That's
way
it.
to win, and like that's
All
all
about
that's
two
all that
points.
matters.
You get 2 points. Numbers come with wins.
Yeah.
Go do your thing, and everything will be positive. So got the 3 wins there, and that was good for the team, not only for the
Yeah.
team but for myself for confidence. I got my 1 win in Newfoundland, and then came back down to Peoria. Got my 3 wins there. I was feeling really confident, even though like numbers weren't showing it. I felt really good about where my game was at.
Yeah, and then you went to Kalamazoo where you backed up that one game, uh and then you got that called to Reading. So like what's it been like? You're 4-0 with Reading right now. So like what's it been like with Reading and just being able to just be in the coast again and just be able to experience like being at like one step away from the A.
You definitely don't take anything for granted. I think that was something
Yeah.
that I also kind of took for granted when I was in Maine, is knowing like, hey, Peoria is right in my back pocket too. Like I still might have an opportunity to go there if
Yeah.
all else fails. And you realize as much as like you see guys get called up to the East Coast all the time from the SP. It happens all the time, and guys make the most of their opportunity there. But you realize how hard it is to stay here. So when you find opportunity and you have the opportunity to stay somewhere, like you do whatever it takes to stay here. So if that means like right now, me and Fulcher kind of sharing the backup kind of third goalie, fourth goalie spot right now. I mean, we got Meyer and Nagel, who are two very, very skilled goalies, and Fulci's a very good goalie as well. I mean, got in the NHL for a game. Like, you kidding me? Like, that's awesome. So if I'm the last, I just got to make sure that for myself, I have to get the reps in when I can. Um, but getting my first game against Wheeling, and kind of like when I was in Peoria, got traded, came down on the Wednesday or came down Tuesday night. We had a game Wednesday against Wheeling at home. So I got a morning skating with the guys and backed up Fulci that night. Thursday we had practice. Friday we had a morning skate, or no, we didn't have a morning skate. We just got on the bus and bus to Wheeling. We played them there Friday night, and then played them again Saturday. And coach during practice Thursday came up and said, "Hey, you're going tomorrow. Do what you have to do to be ready." And I was like, "Okay, great. I'm getting right back after it again. Like, let's go. Let's continue to build off of what we've been doing." And so everything that I learned when I was in Peoria and Maine, I just brought with me into Reading. And I mean, the ending conversation I had with Guy in Peoria was pretty big for me. I mean, it was nice that he said like, "Hey, you're a really good goalie," but at the same time too, I was like, what am I missing? Like, obviously, like if you're good enough, everyone's just there's no reason for them not to keep you. So obviously, you're missing something.
Yeah.
So you always want to get something out of no matter what. And so he's like, "Hey, I just like to see you challenge a little bit more." And I kind of went to playing more of a top of the crease game in the SP, kind of like I did at the end when I was in Maine. But the difference was, and like he said, he's like, you have guys on AHL contracts that can make plays in the East Coast Hockey League that some guys can't make in the SP. So you can afford a challenge to touch a little bit more than you are right now. And I was like, hey, you know what? You're right. So coming back here, I said, I'm going to go back to kind of how I played in college. I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge and make things difficult for guys. And if guys beat me, the guys beat me. You know what it is, but you want to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed. And so, first night in Wheeling, went right back to that mindset. Great start to the game. First shot, first goal, and just exactly how I planned it, just exactly how I wanted, great tip out in front. And so hot start. You're kind of laughing to yourself. You're like, oh, this is great. Great first look for the
Look at
team.
this.
Yeah. And then go on a roll there. And I mean, I think I was like 32 for 33 until I get my next goal on like a back door.
Yeah.
And so I rattled off 32 saves in a row after that one went in. And it was just like, so that was really good for me. I mean, we won that game 4-2, 35 for 37. And you're like, yeah, like you're like, you proven it when you were in Newfoundland against Newfie and for Maine. You prove it again right now. You can still find a way to win and just keep doing your thing. And then the next week, coach gave me a start against Norfolk and Norfolk on the Wednesday. Again, I felt like I was jibbed a few shots when I was in Norfolk. I mean, me and Mizey kind of laugh about it because Mizey played against them 2 weeks ago and went like that shot clock was way lower than what it should have been. He's like, I made 3 saves and I looked up and the number didn't change. Like, what is that? Like, that's ridiculous. I was like, no, but I know exactly what you mean. So was 19 for 21 that night. Again, got the win. And we win 4-2 or 5-2, I think it was, in Norfolk. So that was really good. And so you're kind of getting ready to go. But all this time, Carter Hart's hurt.
Yeah.
And so you see why, okay, like, yeah, you're playing, which is great. But then Hart comes back. So now that trickle down effect happens. So Mizey comes in on the Friday night game in Worcester against Worcester. So him being an AHL contract and being a very good goalie gets a nod Friday, and you're like, yeah, then it makes complete sense. Gets a nod Saturday, complete sense. And so they're on a bit of a rotation. Eggs and Mizey, they kind of bounce back and forth when one guy's playing, the other guy's backing up. Um, and so they've been flip flopping back and forth. So right now it's just about making the most of every practice and every pregame skate and doing whatever any guy wants to do. If they want to do breakaway, they don't even want timers from the top of the circle for 20 minutes. Like, all right, you better get your eyes going because you're
Yeah.
taking it and you're taking whatever you can get. I mean, obviously, you hope you don't get hit in the head.
Yeah.
You definitely give it to them if they find a way to get it close. Um, but now it's just getting better with every practice and watching Nags and Mizey and picking up things that they do that are super, super important and good. I mean, Nags reminds me a lot of Brassy in terms of his game is very simple. I mean, he played for the Olympic team. I know you've had him on here, and his game is very, very calm, and he's very good at what he does, just like Brassy. And then Mizey's just like Bussy, except Mizey's not tall like Bussy. He's 5'11", 6 foot, and he moves incredibly well. He's super quick on his feet and love his ground game. It's very clean, it's very sharp, but at the same time too, like he makes that sprawling say. Like two saves he made this past weekend against Worcester on the Saturday night were just incredible. And if anybody is wants to see two good saves, I highly recommend you go watch the highlights from Saturday night's game because the block you save you made in the first period and the third pad save you made in the second period are just high end saves. But again, like just able to get him one, he's flexible enough to do it, and two, like he just gets himself an opportunity to make another save. So you're just learning a lot from those two guys and just really enjoying the process and getting better every day.
Yeah, I really like that mindset that you have with like especially with you and Fulci, like being the 3-4, just to get as many reps as you can, like whatever the guys need, like you're the first one to be like, yeah, like one timers, let's go. Just hopefully it don't get hit in the head, but
Yeah,
if it happens, like you just chirp the guys and they'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but like just
exactly.
to find ways to get better, especially since that is your time for like your game.
Exactly. And I mean, me and Fulci have a really good relationship as well as me, Mizey and Nags. Like we all get along really
Yeah.
well. We all obviously really respect each other and know what each one can bring to the table and can do. And so we all share different things and same time too, like certain things we all kind of want to work on and we'll talk about it. And I know me and Fulci were talking about the other day with reverses and how we want to incorporate them or how we can possibly work them into practices. And then we're talking about it. And then sure enough, coach draws up a drill on Monday about how like this cutting the net from the goal line. And so sure enough, there we are. We're working on our reverses or how we want to play those. So it was super good.
Yeah, and like it's nice when like the coaches drills like go with what you want to work with because like it's not always goalie friendly, but like when it is, like you make the most of it, and like even if
Oh,
it's
big
not,
time.
you make the most out of like any shots that you can get.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. Even like I know, listen to Tony talk. Tony brought up a really good thing. He's like, for younger goalies and stuff like that, like goalies are gonna do drills that are an absolute pain, that do nothing for you, and you might face a million shots, but there's something you can take from every one of those shows. And if that means you have to skip one shot so that you can focus on the next one, but focus specifically on what you want to get better at, then do that. Who cares? As long as you're getting better and finding a way to increase your game, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip to learn from, especially because like you always hear about goalies like saying like, yeah, I want to work on like these three things like at practice. It's like, do you have like three things? Like, how do you approach like a practice? Do you have like those things in the back of your mind that you're like, I want to work on like maybe like putting like all pucks to the corner, like or non-dangerous areas, like follow the puck with your eyes. Just like, do you have anything like that?
I'm definitely depending on the drill,
Yeah.
it really focuses on what I want to like get better at. I mean, like we do like some drills where it's just like a pass off pad for the
Yeah.
forwards. So, I mean, the shot's coming low for the most part. And I mean, as much as you want to just focus on getting your stick on it, you can't cheat because
Yeah.
that's going to come far pad, and then the guy shoots it short side high bunk, and you just are like, well, that's not the drill, but it's like, but why are you cheating?
Yeah.
Right. So it's for me, depending on the drill, kind of decides what I want to focus on. But a lot of it's following my rebounds, making sure there isn't a rebound. If there is a rebound, I better go to a spot that's clean
Yeah.
or that is going to be kind of out of a dangerous area, or at least I can give myself a chance to get to. Like if it hits my blocker, it can't die and be beside me. That can't happen. If it hits my blocker and goes to the other side hash marks on against the boards, that's a great rebound. Even if a guy is driving the net from that side, I saw an opportunity to get to a post to give myself a chance to make a save. But if it's coming directly up the middle, like that's not a great rebound.
Yeah.
If
That's
it's
the
hitting me,
worst place you want to put it.
oh, 100%. And I mean, sometimes that works. I mean, there's the odd time because of that pass off pad drill where they shoot and it hits it just above your stick and it kind of hits you in the toe. And because the guy thinks it's going to come out the left side, it goes right up the middle. Like you laugh and you're like, oh, I did that on purpose. No, we didn't do it on purpose. But at the same time, too, it happened to be a good rebound for that, but you don't want to make that a regular thing. Um, but no, like you said, you really hone in on a couple things and you try and make sure that you hit those every single time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always the best when it hits your toe bridge and like it curves like out instead of like going right to the guy, like goes like
Exactly.
straight out to like the center where no one's expecting it. Like those are
Nobody.
the best. Like you don't do that on purpose, but when it happens, you're like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy thing is like this is my first year wearing Bauer pads, and damn, does that puck fire off the pads? It just goes and it doesn't stop, and it's like it's a great tool, but it also is not such a good tool sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Fire
yeah,
right up right to a guy's stick and he
yeah,
puts it
exactly.
in.
You're like stupid pads, but at the same time too, like what am I doing? But no, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. But before we wrap things up here, you have a like I love like your mask. Like what went into the I know we talked about it like on like messages and all that, but like what went into creating your mask?
So this year, not knowing exactly where I was gonna play, I decided I want to get something done. So
Yeah,
I reached out to my buddy Joe Hackley, who played with me at Aurora. He's at Shrine right now. Shout out to Joe. He got his helmet done by Mask Wraps, actually right by my house in Mississauga. Unbelievable guys, by the way. If anybody ever needs a mask done, or if you want to get your mask, I know we talked about it as well.
yeah.
Like Mask Wraps does it for a super reasonable price, and they do an unbelievable
Oh
job. And
yeah.
it's a quick turnaround. Like you drop
It
it
looks
off.
like it's painted too. So sick.
The amount exactly the amount of guys that come up to me like, "Hey, dude, your helmet's sick." I'm like, they're like, "Where'd you get that paint job done?" I'm like, "That's a wrap. Like it's a giant sticker." And
Yeah,
honestly, like what Jason Livery did for me while I was at Aurora in terms of my helmets is breathtaking, and I love my helmets. The one thing I love about the wraps is if I get hit in the head quite a bit. I think it's just because I'm small, so guys try and go shelf all the time, and it just
yeah,
ends up hitting me. Um, is because I got hit, I always cracked my paint job. So whenever I look at my helmets, like it'll be like crack marks or like a chunk of it will be missing because I got hit there so much. But with the wrap, even though I get hit, I just rub my finger on it and the mark's gone. There's no rip, there's no nothing. So it's like whatever they're using to make these wraps, it's awesome. But to get back to your original question, I want to keep it very, very neutral with like just a classic gray and white. And I was a huge fan of Robin Leonard's Islanders helmet.
yeah.
I loved how clean it looked. He had the blue and orange Brian set up with like the white down the middle, and then he had this really clean gray helmet. I was like, that looks so nice, and it goes with every jersey, regardless of where you're at or what team you're on. And so I was like, okay, well, I hadn't committed to Maine yet, or hadn't heard from Maine yet, but I knew going to Peoria, I was like, I want my goal going to Peoria was I want to get a call up to the East Coast at some point.
Yeah.
At one point or another, I want to just get my foot in the door, at least get on the EP, like, okay, I was here. I played 2 games, whatever it
Yeah.
was, and then play as many as I possibly could in Peoria. So I went with a gray and white helmet and kind of went with like a Riverman, but not a specific Riverman design, and kind of went with a Greek mythology. So I got Zeus on the top. Um, and then I got like 2 sailor, like kind of spokespeople on the sides. And then I have what was my number at Peoria, but I would, if I could, I'd go back and just change that to either like a Boyks or
Yeah.
something that's more neutral than a number, just because I'm not wearing 74 here, I'm wearing one. So, um, yeah, no, but yeah, I went with a very clean looking gray and white Greek mythology kind of Riverman logo style.
Yeah, because like I was looking through the pictures of like your in game, and it literally matches with every jersey you've worn this season. So it's like
Exactly.
it's not like one just like stands out. Like it's literally neutral, and like every team you go to, it's like it's not like team affiliated to say, but like it just matches with the colors and everything.
Exactly. And it was funny too. My goalie coach back home reached out to me almost, he reached out to me in January. Like I text him probably once a month or once every 2 months at least. And he's like, thank God you went with a gray and white helmet because if you went with anything else, it wouldn't match anybody. So good call there. So yeah, I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool mask. And are you gonna change it up next year, or it just depends on where you are?
I mean, hopefully wherever I am next year, I mean, hoping that they kind of cover everything for me. That'd be the dream, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I got spoiled in college, and it was nice to know, like, okay, you're gonna be here for 4 years, so you can tailor everything to Aurora, and I obviously did that with my different setups. And I mean, I would have loved to do like a digi print this year, but not knowing where I was gonna be, and as much as I love the mock design, I was like just gonna go clean here. So
Yes.
whatever happens, but next year, hopefully I get a new helmet, paint, or I'd probably get it wrapped again, honestly, or I'd go back to
The way
Jason.
to
One or the
go.
other. Yeah, it either go wrapped or back to Jason, getting it painted, and then hopefully get some type of cool design pads.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe you'll be on a deal next year. Who knows?
That's one guy's dream, but yeah, just enjoying where I am right now and making the most of this opportunity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great place to end this episode. But Josh, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I want to wish you the best of luck, whether that be in Reading or wherever. Just keep grinding and good luck.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me back on, and best of luck with the rest of your season.
Yeah, thank you.